Yes, Shege, it is inevitable and unavoidable to talk about farming when you talk about Nyeri County.
That's true.
But before we talk about any commercial or industrial enterprise, I think when one talks about development, you actually are talking about a living, breathing human being. When you talk about developing, it is an individual that you develop. It is not the buildings that you put up, the cables of electricity that you string or whatever. So I believe personally that the county that will make a leap forward is the county that will look at the individual and see what you can do with that individual, what that individual lacks that makes them underdeveloped. And mind you, the question that you put to us in the first instance about youth and their miscreants, their social behavior at the moment. It's really about incomes and what one has available to them. Now, if we are going to develop Nyeri County, I believe that the very basic starting point is education, because even when you talk about creating jobs, you must prepare the person to be employable in the first place, whether it is self-employment or whether it is formal employment elsewhere. The person must be employable in the first instance. I have a dream myself about Nyeri County. I know the history of our county is very, very closely associated with education. Right from the inception of the Kenyan state by the colonialists. Tomotomo, Mathari, where Nyeri High School is, and so on and so forth.
And I'm glad you are raising this issue, because I'm going to ask you again, gentlemen. Nyeri used to be the pinnacle of education.
Precisely. That is precisely where I'm coming, Chege. Now, we have got that history on which we can build. I have a dream, like I said, to see children in Nyeri County transiting from the first class when they start going to school to university at a rate of 70%, because it has happened in Japan, it has happened in Korea, it has happened in Taiwan, and any research that has been carried out has identified that education, that mass education, as the basis for upliftment of those communities.
Will it happen in Nyeri? Will it happen in Nyeri? The same.
Yes, it is possible to make it work, Chege, because what you want to do is develop policy. You want to create policy that will ensure that every child in Nyeri has got an opportunity to not just go to standard 1 up to class 8 and then from 1 to form 4. You must create policies that will enable students to transit from form 4 and to post high school higher learning institutions. That way, you make them ready to do jobs, and not jobs just in Nyeri County. They can do jobs anywhere, but more important, the jobs that those people will both be workers and the job creators themselves.
Yes. Nyeri used to be the beacon of education. If elected a senator, Mheshimiwa, are we going to see a scenario where Nyeri returns to its former glory? What plans do you have?
In fact, if you look at the statistics of Nyeri's education, you'll find that the growth that has been there in terms of the student population is not actually very high. You know, we have about 200 secondary schools and probably about 575 or so, primary schools in the county. Now, the issue is not even so much the facilities, a question of the quality of education that we have got in the county. Because the infrastructure is there. We have got some schools, we have got some secondary schools. It is not enough, but the infrastructure is there. When we were doing well, We didn't even have as much infrastructure as we have today. The issue is the quality of education that is happening, and also this issue of having very educated people. There is a bit of discouragement even among the students, because there are those who will say, what is the purpose of my going to school? I go to school when university people are sitting around here without jobs.
And they are the same ones in the illicit brew.
Yeah, because exactly, it's the same people. But I think in terms of the quality of education and the spirit of education, we must realize and teach our people that, look, first, you don't just get educated to get a job as such. You can get educated to create jobs yourself, and hire other people. I think that's the mindset of waiting for a job when you get educated is something we need to get out of. Secondly, the quality of education in the county has got to be one that can match global demand. Because when you talk about the creation of jobs, some of the jobs we will create, for example, in business process outsourcing, will be such that you are working for the rest of the world when you are still based in Nyeri. And consequent to that, you have got to be able to communicate and be at the same level with other people educated elsewhere in the world. So it is not enough that we say that we are going to educate them. We must educate them with a kind of quality that can match any quality anywhere on earth. And I think that to do that is a question of a number of things. Number one, we need the resources, the money to actually put in schools. We need to see our teachers a bit more encouraged.
Motivated.
We need to go all the way down to the kindergarten. Today, the kindergarten teacher is a lady or a man who is just suffering. Nobody thinks about that kindergarten teacher.
Yet they play the most crucial role.
They play a very important role. Yet when you think about it, the government says, we don't know who is going to pay the kindergarten teacher, the nursery schools as they call them. And the nurseries, if you call the nursery school teachers, they'll say nobody thinks about us. And when you think about it, the teaching community, the teachers themselves, we need to care about these people.
That's true.
We need to think about how we are going to empower them, and how they, in turn, can be able to empower the students. For example, at the education policy, we talk about education. But if a teacher wants to educate himself, if a teacher in Nyeri wants to go to college and get more qualified, it's very difficult for them. The salaries are small. The fees that they want to pay to universities and other colleges that can improve themselves is much higher. So we need to think about, as a county, what program can we have for our teachers too? So that if a teacher wants to go to school and improve themselves, they can be able to source some funding from the county to educate themselves and in turn educate our kids.
Is this an area you are prioritizing yourself?
I am very keen on seeing that our teachers are facilitated to improve themselves. Simultaneously, as the teachers are improving themselves, we are improving also the quality of infrastructure that is in the place. There is no point of saying we are going to make scientists when you can't teach science in schools that have got no labs.
That's true.
All right? So we have got to equip our schools to match the jobs that we want to create, even agriculture. When you think about a coffee farmer or a tea farmer, the facilities that are not there, the facilities that we need to take a young person and teach them how to take care of coffee, or teach them how to take care of tea and the other things that we are doing. Those things used to be there. There used to be a very big institutions, Wambogo Farmers Training Center, and so on and so forth. So at that level, so when you talk about education, we are not just talking about education as in go to a classroom and run Vasco da Gama who went around the Cape of Good Hope. No, you're talking about holistic education to improve our entire county and all the sectors that are available.
And it's about quality.
It's about quality too. It's both quantity and quality.
At the same goal.
But more quantity than other. But more quality of education than otherwise. Yeah.
John, what is the plan?
Well, I tell you what, I agree with Mheshimiwa. But we all seem to miss the point. Do we utilize all the possible potential within those schools? I'll tell you what. Nyeri will be lucky to have me as their senator, because one among the things that I intend to do is to bring in the element of what you call smart metering in electricity. What you do, the classrooms in Nyeri go lateral. They don't go vertical. Because of the lateral length, you have a lot of room for roof. That roof is a good place to harness or to collect or to harvest solar energy. I think Nyeri must be thinking about solar energy. It's the only way. Think about it this way. If you use solar energy, number one, the school becomes the public entity. The investor comes in as the private entity. You got a PPP right there, a private-public partnership. The school then hosts the panels. All through the day, you don't hold the electricity in batteries. No, no, no. You actually connect the electricity to the grid. So what will happen is actually every day, in every school in Nyeri, they will siphon a lot of electricity that will going directly into the national grid. This is happening. Germany today, every roof is covered with panels. You're lucky to have the top apartment in a building so you can use the roof.
Are you saying, if elected the first senator of Nyeri, this will happen? That
Nyeri,
all schools will have
now I tell you, this will even be better. When you actually come and look at what you gain out of it, you gain two things again. You gain the electricity itself, and you gain the clean energy component in the environment, which is a carbon credit. Those have values. Now, if you imagine that the school, being the public, gets half of the income, and the private takes half of the income, those schools will be so well funded that a teacher will not be earning, just like he said, 4,000 shillings a month. No teacher can be able to make children pass. And really, you can have quality teachers if you're not going to be able to pay them well. I tell you what, Nyeri County, I intend to propose that we have an allowance for the education sector. That will mean that just the way you get allowances, hardship allowances, when you're in areas that are referred to as hardship areas, if you're working in Nyeri, you will also earn an extra allowance, but we will need you to be an excellent teacher so that we can actually enhance the quality of our education.
So it's using the resources within.
Using the resources and using the youths now to actually create all those changes. Whenever you come with you come across an intervention, it gives you an opportunity to create technologies, to create employment. See, all this lack of employment is because of having nothing to do. There are things to be done. There are things that ought to be done, but nothing is being done. Okay. Poor leadership is exactly what has brought us what we are.
Poor leadership. That's something we